Anyway, this is an awkward segue, but also I talked to Bullet Bob Armstrong this week.
Oh, good.
Hadn't talked to Bob in ages, but I talked to him this week. Everybody has seen, I guess, on social media, on Twitter or whatever, that he's been fighting cancer for some time now. But Bullet Bob, he's 80. He just had, and unfortunately, he just had his 60th wedding anniversary celebration with his wife Gail, and she passed away then a couple days afterwards. But 60 years together, and Scott and Brian and Steve were there, and I wish Brad could have been there, but I talked to Bullet, and he said he's having the, knockdown, drag out, no time limit, no disqualification Texas death match with the Big C. I said, just back it up in the corner and throw those overhand chops like you used to at me, and it'll fucking slink off and fucking put you over. But it was the same thing. He obviously, he's lost a lot of weight and isn't the big jacked up Bullet Bob that we saw into his 70s, but he sounded exactly the same on the phone. All we did was laugh from start to finish and talk about 10 minutes. And he said, well, I got to go take a shit. And so he sounded exactly like Bullet should sound on the phone. And it just happened to catch him. I just wanted to say to everybody that Bullet Bob sounds great, and we should all appreciate everything that he's given the wrestling business, not only himself, but think of all of his sons over the past 40 years have worked every territory, Scott is now a great referee, but has been an agent, has run towns for Continental in the past as a promoter. Road Dogg, I think he give up, turn over a spot on creative recently, like, get this the fuck away from me. I know that feeling, but he's still an agent and employed by biggest company in the world. Brad still to this day is a guy that everybody holds up as the classic worker. So the whole family, we talked about the Steve and the Southern Boys midnight recap we did this past week on the Drive-Thru, but the Armstrong tentacles reach all around the world in wrestling, and Bob should be proud. I've got 2 letters from Bob that I've saved for years. One, when I actually ran his fan club in 1977, the kid in Georgia that started his fan club, and then I joined it, right? Because I joined every fan club so I could get the autographed pictures and the membership card and the bulletins and everything. And I would send the results from here when Bob was in the Tennessee territory to the guy. And finally he wrote me and he said, what would you like to take over the whole club? I don't have time anymore. And that's the first time I would have had a chance to do a program or a bulletin or a magazine. So I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And I think, Brian, have you seen them? They were like legal size paper, Xerox copies, 20-page bulletins with everything in them. I would fucking put the pictures and type around it with the typewriter and tape the pictures in with double-sided Scotch tape and the whole 9 yards.
I've never seen any of those. I've seen other fan club bulletins from that time, but never your Bob Armstrong one.
I did 3 or 4 of them. I might have to sell copies of those on the website because it was ridiculous what I was spending way too much time and money because the guy that started the club, he sent me the whole club treasury, $3.50. And my first run of bulletins, I went so crazy, it cost like $22. But anyway, I have a letter from Bob because there was a girl that named Janet lived over in Bulls Gap, Tennessee, for all you Knoxvillians and East Tennesseans. She would go to the matches every week. So she took a sheet of questions to have Bob answer so that I could print the interview in the bulletin, right? And she actually handed it to him, and he wrote them down and gave it back to her the next week at the matches. And she sent it back to me, and I've still got that. That was 1977, so I was 16 and he was 37. And that's the first letter that Bob Armstrong ever sent to me. And the second and last letter was from 1993 when I was 32 and he was 53. And it was a thank you note for, in general, the whole summer-long angle, but then the match that we had, and then bringing in Terry Funk to work a program with him, but basically he was in the main event in Knoxville as a wrestler almost 20 years later on shows that were drawing 3,000 plus fans. And he sent me a thank you note for he said this has been a highlight of my career. And I've saved that all that time. So I may have them framed. One of these days, I'm going to buy another house, just because I need more wall space to frame everything. And I'm just going to have a house that just shits framed on the walls. You walk in and just look around. It'll be a museum. Anyway, what are you doing over there? You're ignoring me.
I'm listening to you. I like the idea of the Jim Cornette Wrestling Museum.
Yeah, but then the problem is I have to be on the premises to keep anybody from getting sticky fingers. And then if they didn't wear masks, I'd have to throw them out the window. A socially distanced museum.
That would be the problem, yes.
Yeah, well, anyway.